They told me if I cared so much, I should just go there and help, so I am. I will be heading to Egypt this week to join the March to Gaza and demand the immediate end and starvation of the people of Gaza. I will be going as part of the Palestinian Youth Movement's delegation, who is joining hundreds of other organizations and thousands of people from 32 countries across the world to march 30 miles on foot from El Arish to Rafah.
I'm here in Ismailia, Egypt, and for the global march to Gaza, from Cairo to Gaza. We made it past one checkpoint, and the second military checkpoint we did not make it past. They started stopping everybody and taking their passports, and had a whole bunch of riot police show up, even though we are peaceful.
Hi everyone, I'm on the global march to Gaza in Egypt. We were stopped at a checkpoint. They took our passports. They've detained us. I'm going to show you. They put us in a barrier like animals. Look how they've locked us in. They've locked us all in. These are all activists. These are all people. We are activists from multiple countries, and they've brought the army, they've brought armed cars. They are going to take us back to the airport to deport us. We have done nothing wrong.
Canadian citizens and many others have been detained, went missing for hours and hours, and were deported from Egypt over the weekend. Some remain in custody, all because they dared to try to peacefully march to the Rafah crossing to break Israel's siege on Gaza and save lives. I spent my weekend messaging back and forth with a Canadian physician who is there. I also communicated with Canada's Global Affairs Department, and I'm going to fill you in on what has been happening here, because sadly the marchers have had to cancel their plans to head to the Rafah crossing. And despite communicating to Egyptian authorities that they no longer intend to go ahead with the march, and despite their movement's full compliance with Egyptian law, participants in the march are reportedly being arrested in the streets and their hotels simply for being part of this peaceful movement. All because, once again, they dared to march to the Rafah crossing to break Israel's siege on Gaza. Now, as I mentioned, over the weekend, Canadian physician Yipeng Ji kept me posted on what was going on. First, they left for the march, but when they tried to pass from Cairo to Ismailia, people had their passports taken. Yipeng sent me these images, pictures of passports.
Yes, these people have been doing this for over a long time. In the West, they can allow this to happen, but they don't understand that there are certain part of the world that they don't allow people to do this. They took a decision to move into Egypt, to go straight into Gaza to demonstrate. What they saw, they didn't expect. They actually find out. At a certain point, when I watched the video and what has been going on social media recently with Greta Thunberg, this is just an example to these people. They call themselves activists. Imagine traveling from Europe to Egypt just to do this, risking your life. Some do it for cameras. I understand. They know the consequences, what will follow suit. What is going on? It is important. I show you some videos.
Activists from all over the world, they attempted to march in Gaza in an effort to highlight the need for humanitarian aid, but they never made it. Egyptian police detained several participants once they tried to assemble. This was just outside of Cairo. Arlington native David Fleeg joined the march and says he watched as several people from his group were detained. He actually spoke with our Jericho Tran about what he saw, and this story is all new for you tonight at 11.
Took their passports, detained them. Some people were able to get through and made it there, and they were beaten by Egyptian police before they were rounded up onto buses, and they are currently at a location that we do not know. Leadership and communication structure, and we're told that we should all return to Cairo.
We've just been to the buses here at the first checkpoint.
Thousands from around the world participated in the march to try and encourage the Egyptian government to allow humanitarian aid across the Rafah border into Gaza. Now, those who were detained are taking to social media to call for help.
They started to push people and drag them. They have beaten people. I have seen one woman that was beaten in her face in front of me.
I think the very idea of us doing anything to highlight what was being done to the Palestinian people was not acceptable to them.
Flag was able to make it back safely to Cairo, but remains uncertain about his plans moving forward.
Egypt is just arresting people. Anybody with a backpack, they're getting detained. So it's not really clear, what that means.
This as Flag's wife, Lauren, and their 2 children anxiously wait for his return.
He's not been detained, but I do worry about what's going to happen at the airport, and I'm concerned about the well-being of everybody else who is on this very important and peaceful action.
Jericho Tran, NBC 10 Boston.
It won't be long until we're taken now.
Among them TD Paul Murphy, who live-streamed some marchers being detained by Egyptian authorities.
Unfortunately, when we got here, our passports were immediately confiscated by the army, and everyone else who was here has had the same situation.
I believe you saw that these woke activists show up at the Egyptian border struggling to force in to enter Gaza. The Egyptian forces are not there to play. They had to take them down to a level they have not seen before. Most of these people I saw in this video, they are from Europe. Imagine traveling that distance. At a certain point, I was like, this is what you ask for. You can't just go into another country, you want to bypass the border. There are procedures that you need to pass through before you do that.
Taken now.
Among them TD Paul Murphy, who live-streamed some marchers being detained by Egyptian authorities.
Unfortunately, when we got here, our passports were immediately confiscated by the army, and everyone else who was here has had the same situation. There's a bus here which they tried to get people to go on. People refused to go on it because they think, I think correctly, that it would be used to deport them.
Back home in Dublin, Paul Murphy's wife has been closely following the events in Egypt.
I have not spoken to him. His phone was seized. The last we saw was his live video where it's clear that he was forcibly seized.
Several Irish people are among the estimated 4,000 global citizens who signed up to take part in what organisers called a non-political and citizen-led.
Egyptians don't allow people of this magnitude to enter their countries. This is what I've observed here. Yes. What this man is struggling to do, because you Muslims, you need to do this, you need to do that. At a certain point, when I look at exactly what is going on, this was just for the cameras. That is what I thought when I saw this video. Bima had a segment. They talked about this. I want to show you that video with John Fediment.
And what about the war in Gaza? Now, both of us, I think, have taken a lot of heat because we support Israel sort of forthrightly, and a lot of people don't. Obviously, there's a lot of horrible destruction and loss of life on both sides. Obviously, started that war. Israel has prosecuted it, and some people say too far. Now, one of their ex-prime ministers, Omar, this is an ex-prime minister, is now saying Israel is committing war crimes. I keep saying, do you think Hamas needs to be destroyed? And people say yes. And then the next question is, well, how do we know when that is? Now, we may find out that Netanyahu has gone too far. What do you think about this? Does this change your thinking at all that an ex-prime minister would say this?
No, I really do think, absolutely. I don't believe Israel has occurred any kind of a war crimes. And then I also think we've seen a lot of the language been cheapened as well, too.
For people who usually complain, like, why are you putting videos after your clips? The last few minutes behind my videos, that is just for the YouTube algorithm. They hardly pick up videos on this channel for reasons I don't know. They don't recommend, so we struggle every single day to continue to put out videos. Please bear with me. If you see it, you can even stop here.
Who? People line up for my advice, and you're walking away like I'm stupid. It's like I've written books. I've given speeches.
Why don't we choose more carefully who we're going to lionize? Not just us, like the Harvards and the MITs of the world.
There are just many natural reasons why marriage, infertility, trying to have kids makes things difficult. It's like I try to tell couples, of course it's hard. Just listen to what I said.
There's something wrong with this person. Like, she's seriously depressed here, and actually found a way to bitch and moan about how hard it is to live.
Of Donald Trump's post this morning.
Justice will prevail.
It also shouldn't be racial.
Require Carmelo to run. He had
100.
Has been overwhelming. The lies in there.
I'm from Toronto, Canada.
Wrong. Good.
What if he says self-defense?
There's no self-defense.
This is definitely a self-defense case because it always is one.
Because she's fearful of what might happen to her.
Followers for anything. And then the
Registration Act is
talking about this man.
My summary of the first 100 days is that
if film and TV productions continue to
first term, and you will be very.
Once again, the field was littered with Wintour does every year. This Carmelo Anthony case.
Live in the White House. Many people
like a little unhinged drunk.
And black people don't want to live around wretched black people.
From an employee, and they had a brother.
Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass.
Undocumented. It is not a crime to be undocumented.
What they're saying is the problem is that they are.
But I'm just saying we need to.
J-Lo. Here's the reason we have to get to J-Lo.
Attract people to them. I don't know.
We have to get to J-Lo. Here.
Like, when I was younger, I'd go in D.C. and stuff, and I would always stay at George Washington University.
We're better off today than anybody.
A lot of the black people that I see you over here